Be informed. Be guided. Be inspired. As Hector Macalalag Leadership Channel proudly presents review sessions for Principal Swain and DMT.
Isang mapagpalang araw sa inyong lahat. A blessed day to all of you. Welcome to the 10th video of my Hector Macalalag Leadership Channel. The video about the National Qualifying Examination for School Heads, also known as the Principal's Test. So, itong mga topics ko ay based on the different strands of the different domains that was present in Philippine Professional Standards for School Heads. Pag-uusapan natin ngayon ang adoption of the Basic Research Agenda. This is taken from DepEd Order number 39, series of 2016, as well as a combination of the Basic Research Guidelines. Sa last part ng video na ito ay i-discuss ko ang format ng Basic Research at Action Research. Ito po ang inyong lingkod, Hector Dinarcia Macalalag, the Assistant Schools Division Superintendent. Let us start with the definition of terms. Kadalasan ginagamit sa DepEd order na ito ang mga words na research. As we all know, research is a systematic process of collecting and analyzing data to increase the understanding of a topic. Simple lang naman ang definition ng research. Ito ay pag-process sa pag-collect at pag-analyze para maintindihan natin ang topic or problem na nangyayari sa ating paaralan. And so that we will able to have that increased understanding of those topics that we are trying to solve sa ating research. May dalawang klase ng research sa Department of Education. Ito ang basic research at saka action research. Pangalawa ay ang research agenda. A document containing a list of priority education research areas to guide DepEd and its stakeholders in the conduct of research. Hindi tayo pwede na basta-basta na lang gumawa ng mga researches. Dapat ang mga researches na ito ay nakapaloob sa ating priority education research areas. Pero hindi din ibig sabihin we are prohibited to conduct research kung wala ito sa priority education research areas. Ibig sabihin ng priority, kung maaari, diyan tayo kukuha ng mga topics kasi yan ang priority ng Department of Education. But if the topic that you would like to conduct a research is not found in the education research areas or the priority education research areas, you are still free to conduct such research. Kasi naman, may mga different funding agencies din tayo nang nagbibigay ng funds ng ating research. Una na dito ay yung Basic Education Research Fund o yung BERF na galing mismo sa DepEd Central Office. It is being cascaded to the regional office at kung sino yung mag-submit sa regional office, they are being scrutinized and filtered by the Regional Research Committee, and the Division Research Committee also has the responsibility of endorsing it. So, mayroon ding sa iba't ibang sources sa Special Education Fund. Sometimes nagbibigay sila ng funds sa research prior to pandemic, pero ngayong pandemic, lahat ng mga yata ng mga funding sa research ay divert sa iba't ibang pangangailangan because of this pandemic. So, prior to this pandemic, nagbibigay naman ng iba't ibang Special Education Fund ng fund para research. At yung ibang teachers, kung walang makuha na sponsor sa kanilang research kasi ayaw nila mag-birth, ayaw nila mag-ECF kasi kung minsan, you will really have to be follow up. So yung iba, gumagasto ng sarili nila para makandak ang kanilang research. Yung iba rin, kumukuha ng mga sponsoring agencies, mayroon din sa DOST na research, at sa iba't ibang parte ng ating department. Overall, the Department of Education adheres to the following principles in the conduct of basic education research. There are 3 principles na pina-follow ng Department of Education. Ito ay ang excellence. Excellence demands that the inquiry is relevant and researchable. Methods applied are appropriate and findings are logical, coherent, and supported by data. So ito po yung excellence. Yung integrity, the highest ethical standards shall be applied to basic education research, whether or not human subjects are involved. Researchers must ensure that the study will not cause people harm. Research participants should have informed consent, must be cognizant about the general purpose of the study, and should not be exposed to unusual risk. Openness, the third principle. Openness emphasizes the need to engage more partners in basic education research and to employ multi-disciplinary perspectives. So overall, ito yung tatlong principle na ina-adhere ng Department of Education as we conduct our basic education researches, whether it be an action research or a basic research. Excellence, integrity, and openness are the keywords as we adhere to these principles in the conduct of our different researches. Punta po tayo sa research themes and questions. Mayroong iba't ibang themes and questions na pwede nating pagbasihan ng ating mga researches. These are suggested questions. Pwede pa rin ninyong palaliman pa kung may nakita pa kayong mga possible questions based on these research themes. The theme number 1 is about teaching and learning. Of course, napakarami natin makukuhang topic about research dito. Because this is the core of our educational system, the teaching and learning. Topics under instruction include, but are not limited to the following. What factors affect the teacher's delivery of the curriculum? So itong pag-deliver ng teacher sa curriculum ay isang major factor that is suitable for research. Ito talaga, isa ito sa mga major na pwede nating pagkunan ng mga research problems or research title. Unang-una, ang class size. Of course, it is a challenge for some. But I hear that itong class size natin, unti-unti na itong bumababa kasi every year naman tayo nag-hire ng mga teachers. Then the contact time, it might be one of the factors or one of the title for research. Materials and resources, given the limited materials and resources the Department of Education has. So pwede rin itong maging isang title sa research. Sa Information and Communication Technology in Education, pwedeng-pwede kasi marami sa atin ngayon, both teachers, lalong-lalo na yung nagkakaedad na, there's a challenge in applying the Information and Communication Technology. Kung minsan nga, mas magaling pa sa atin itong ating mga learners. The language, like the medium of instruction, the MTB-MLE, ito rin ay maaring panggalingan ng mga research problems or research titles about language, ang medium of instruction. Kasi napakaraming challenges on that area. Kasi naman may mga mother tongue na hindi pa rin yun talaga ang mother tongue ng mga bata. So, pwede pa rin yan bigyan ng pansin on a research question. Continuing professional development and support. Example, coaching and mentoring, learning action cell, isa din ito. Coaching and mentoring, di ba? It is really part of our RPMS sa ating pag-measure ng ating performance and the learning action cell. Napakaraming research questions on that. Of course, the classroom management. Example is the enforcement of the positive discipline. Pwedeng-pwede rin yang maging source of research question and problems. And then, the learning space and environment. What is the condition of your learning space and environment? It could be one of the sources of our research title. The lesson planning and creation of instructional materials could also be. And of course, the teacher's profile, like the background, specialization, the knowledge, and motivation. Lalong-lalo na yung specialization sa background and knowledge and motivation, importante din. So, how the profile of the teachers will also affect the teaching learning process. So, pwede itong maging research title. Pangalawa ay yung what teaching and learning strategies can teachers apply to ensure inclusive and learner-centered education? So, napakarami nito. Like in inclusive education, ito yung mga inclusive education natin. Special education, indigenous people's education, madrasa education, alternative learning system or ALS, alternative delivery modes. Ngayong pandemic, alternative delivery mode ito lahat. Itong paggawa natin ng mga modular printed or modular digital, alternative ito lahat. And then, isa yan sa inclusive education. Napakaraming mga research na pwedeng gawin sa inclusive education. From SPED to IPED, madrasa, ALS, ADMs. And then on disaster risk reduction, DRR, and climate change adaptation or CCA. Pwede rin yan. And then, the child-centered approach. Kasi naman we always believe that the center of the teaching learning process is the children or the learners. So, sa child-centered approach, there are so many challenges that we're facing. So, it could be one of the title of a research. Emerging good practices in your school, lalong-lalo na napatunayan mo, na-try out mo na yung mga practices mo, good practice, and the approving authority in the division level can vouch of that good practices. It could be one of the title in conducting research. ICT in education. How do you integrate ICT in the educational system? Could also be. Then we have differentiated instruction. Ito isa to sa mga importanteng terminology in the K-12 basic education curriculum, the differentiated instruction. Individual learning styles and multiple intelligences, napakarami din dito kasi iba't iba yung ating mga strength ng ating mga kabataan, ating mga learners. According kay Mr. Garner, na maraming intelligences na pwede ang isang bata. Contrary ito sa pananaw natin yung magaling lang sa academic, yung talagang magagaling. Marami ding ibang aspect sa multiple intelligences and the different individual learning styles could be. Then, the collaborative learning is very important also and could be source of a research title. And then, of course, the positive or the classroom management, as mentioned earlier. So, all of this is all about inclusive education and learner-centered education and could be the source of a research title or research problem. Key topics under curriculum include but not limited to the following. How is the curriculum able to contribute in achieving learning outcomes? Like the contextualization, various subjects, spiral progression in the curriculum. Ito, spiral progression kasi sa K-12 basic education curriculum, we are using the spiral progression in the curriculum. In the previous curriculum, by discipline kasi, dumaan tayo sa by discipline. Halimbawa sa math, iba yung algebra, iba yung trigonometry. Pero ngayon, a little of everything, and then it is becoming complex as the grade level is also becoming higher, no, like in grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. So a little of everything, yan ang spiral progression in the curriculum. And of course, the higher order thinking skills, yung HATS, pinag-uusapan natin ng maraming beses yan. And the integration of the RR or disaster risk reduction or yung climate change. Pwede rin yun. Then, how is the curriculum responsive and relevant to learners? Like in contextualization, localization, and indigenization. All of this could be a topic in curriculum. Key topics under learners include but are not limited to the following. Kasi pag sinabi niyang not limited to, pwedeng may mga dagdag pa yan. Kasi isa lang ito sa mga suggested mga topics, no? So hindi ibig sabihin yun yung nasulat dyan, yan na talaga lahat. May mga marami pang pwedeng idagdag dyan. What factors affect the learning behaviors of learners? Like in child development, external and internal environment, of course, mayroong effect yan sa bata. The teaching strategy, sometimes it's teacher factor. Or, kasi the strategy of the teacher will also affect the learners or the behavior of the learners. And the principle of multiple intelligences. We cannot discount na may mga bata talaga na hindi natin pipilit sa hindi niya gusto na field. So the principle of multiple intelligences could also be a source of research topic under the learning behaviors of learners. What contributes to the values formation of learners? Ano yung mga nakakontribute daw sa values formation of learners? Maaring school influence, maaring community, culture, and then extra and co-curricular activities. Maaari talaga kasi yung school influence, maaring ang school ay isang malaking influence sa isang learner, maaari din ang community or ang culture ng isang bata. Kasi yung kinalakihan niya, ang pamamaraan sa kanilang pamayanan o kultura nila, maaaring makaapekto yan sa values formation ng isang bata. And then the extra and co-curricular activities. So this could be a source of a research problem or question. What makes a well-rounded, happy, and smart learner? Of course, ito yung mga topics niya, the school influence, the community, the culture, the extra and co-curricular activities. Katulad din na na-mention natin kanina. Key topics under assessment include but are not limited to the following. Palagi niyang sinasabi itong include but are not limited to the following. Kasi lahat ng yan, suggested lang yan, di ba? May maaaring hindi sila na isulat dyan na which we will discover later na pwede pala siyang maging research question or problem on that category. So, or research title. Halimbawa, what factors affect the implementation of classroom assessment? Mayroong iba't ibang klaseng classroom assessment. Maring ito ay formative or summative. So, iba't iba din yung mga factors na yan. And then, the emerging good practices in your school or in your teaching learning process could be a research title. Teachers' expertise in constructing various types of assessment. Baka yung iba, hindi masyadong, paano ba natin i-state? Baka yung iba ang kanilang expertise. Hindi sila masyadong hone in constructing various types of assessment. So kaya kailangan ito isa sa mga research title. And the availability of assessment tools and resources. Maaaring makaapekto din ito sa implementation of classroom assessment, like the materials, the manpower, environment, and the portfolio assessment. It could be a factor. Kaya lahat ng ito, the factors that affect the implementation of classroom assessment could be one of the research title. So marami talaga tayong pagpipilian. How is assessment conducted and utilized in the Philippine education system? So we have here the level of the assessment in the classroom assessment. So paano naman ang mga classroom assessment natin? Napakarami. The national assessment, the international assessments. Di ba sa national assessment, marami tayong mga national assessment, and then the international assessment, and then the system assessment. System mismo natin sa Department of Education. Sa international assessment, sumali na tayo, di ba, sa teams at iba't iba pang mga international assessment, at nakita din natin kung ano ang ating standing sa national assessment. Nakita natin na we are poor in reading, in math, and in science. Kaya it could be a help as we craft our research titles. And these questions refers to the process of conducting assessment as well as its utilization in terms of policy and formulation and implementation, resource allocation, training of teachers and personnel, review and improvement of curriculum and instruction, and then progress tracking of learners. Lahat ng ito ay pwedeng ma-utilize in the process of conducting assessment, like the resource allocation, the policy formulation and implementation, the training of teachers and personnel, and the progress tracking of learners. How effective is recognition of prior learning or RPL in determining students to special programs? So ito yun, isa din ito sa mga dapat i-consider. So, yung basic literacy program na kinakandak ng ating department, the accreditation and equivalency, the PEPT, the grade level placement, the special programs na kinakandak ng ating department. It could be a source of research titles. Key topics under learning outcomes include but are not limited to the following. What factors affect the achievement of learning outcomes? Like the teacher's profile, ito talaga. Maaari itong makaapekto talaga. Yung specialization nila, yung training, saka yung experience. It could be. And then the learning environment, the learning resources, the language, the assessment, and the governance. It could be. Then how does achievement of expected learning outcomes vary in terms of practices per division, region, and or school? So, ano yung mga pagkakaiba sa regional, division, and school? The school typology, of course, kung iba't ibang mga typology ng ating schools, nakakaapekto din yan sa practices. The role of leaders, may mga leaders kasi na very supportive, yung iba passive lang din. Geographic, political, and economic factors. And then the partnerships that we have in our LGU and other private and public organizations and institution could be a factor of research. The theme number 2 ay ang child protection. Isa din ito sa major topic of research. Main topics under child protection include but are not limited to the following. How can DepEd best address the following child protection concerns? Like the bullying. So special topics ng bullying, physical bullying, emotional bullying, cyberbullying, and teenage pregnancy. Ibang topic yung teenage pregnancy. Yun, yung iba't ibang klase ng bullying. Physical bullying, emotional bullying, at cyberbullying. Specific topic, it could be a source of our research question. And then in teenage pregnancy, all about reproductive health education. How is it that will affect our child protection? And then our child abuse, the grave child rights violations or the GCRVs, the senior high school work immersion context, it could be a source of child abuse. And then for addiction topic, under child protection, pwede rin ang substance abuse, online gaming, and the use of social media. Ito, napakaraming topic ito, lalong-lalo na yung mga bata na hindi masyadong namomonitor ng mga magulang, maaring there is a problem on addiction, on the substance abuse, online gaming, and social media. It could be really a source of an action or a research title. The media consumption, of course, yung sa internet, TV and film, the magazines, and radio. Napakarami talaga about this. The internet, TV, and film, no? Broad yan. Bawat isa dyan, mga broad yan. Napakaraming topics na pwedeng ma-pick up natin dyan as we implement or as we have these research titles. So, the media consumption. Theme number 3 is all about human resource and development. Key topics under teaching and learning qualifications and hiring include, but are not limited to, the following. How effective is the professional development framework in the delivery of the K-12 curriculum? Gaano ka-effective itong ating professional development framework in the delivery of the K-12 curriculum? Then, specialization, syempre, mag-matter din yung specialization ng ating teaching and non-teaching personnel. The quality of years of experience. Hindi lang yung number of years of experience, but dinagdagan niya ng quality of years of experience. So, kailangan there is the word quality in the years of experience. Hindi lang basta years of experience. The language proficiency on the mother tongue. It could be, as we deliver the K-12 curriculum, the academic skills, importante talaga, no? Kasi talagang innate yung academic skills. The psychosocial skills, mayroong iba matatalino pero sa psychosocial nila, hindi sila makarelate sa different people. And then the ICT integration in teaching. Maaaring magaling ang teacher, pero hindi siya marunong mag-integrate ng ICT in teaching kasi hindi siya interesadong matuto. Yung iba, lalong-lalo na pag sasabihin niya, malapit na ako mag-retire, hindi na ako mag-integrate ng ICT. Bibigay na yan sa mga bata-bata. So it could be a source of a research title. What qualifications and competencies are required for teaching in an inclusive learning environment? So, ano yung mga qualifications and competencies na required? So, it maaaring skills for inclusive education, DRR and CCA, climate change, no? Teaching beginning reading, qualification standards and criteria for hiring, maaring psychosocial skills, and the interpersonal skills. Itong lahat ay maaaring napakaraming pagkunan ng research. How can a pre-service teacher education be improved to develop teachers who can effectively deliver the K-12 curriculum? So, dapat talaga nagsisimula sa pre-service teacher education, yung mga schools natin na nagpo-produce ng mga teachers. So, dapat yung mga teacher education institutions, nandun yan, no? Maganda ang kanilang background doon. The core courses, the relevant non-courses, the new courses, and then the preparation on contextualization of the curriculum, the integration of the RR and climate change, the teaching beginning reading, and inclusive education. Lahat-lahat ng yan dapat makonsider ng pre-service teacher education. So pag may nakita tayong mga pre-service education institution who are not implementing that one or anong level ng kanilang pag-implement. Maaring nag-implement sila lahat. Pero on the level of implementation, how are they implementing this could be a source of research. What qualifications and competencies are required of non-teaching staff to support the effective delivery of the K-12 curriculum? Maaring the qualification standards and criteria for hiring, is there a need to revisit? Lalong-lalo na sa ating DepEd ngayon, as of now, May 2021, hindi pa lumalabas yung ating merit selection plan ng DepEd from the central office. So yung mga ginagamit nating DO66 series of 2007, yung MEC 1979, so maaaring qualification standards or criteria are not anymore relevant in our present times. The psychosocial skills. So ibig sabihin yung mga criteria na yan, pwede yan. Mga research title yan, no? Research potential yan. The psychosocial skills, the interpersonal skills, and the technical skills. Then, what are the issues and challenges in hiring public school teachers and how can this be addressed? Napakaraming topics about it, like that of localization, ranking system, the natural vacancies, the planned positions, notice of organizations, staffing and compensation action, political influence. This is a reality. Competition between public and private sector. I hope so na hindi walang competition kasi partner tayo. Immigration and on foreign contractual work. Entry levels. Qualification standards and criteria for hiring. Allocation of teacher items. And verification of eligibility documents. How can selection, retention, assessment, development, promotion, and recognition be enhanced to support DepEd employees in different career stages? So there is career path and progression, personal considerations, quota system, item reclassification. Itong item reclassification kasi yung yung elementary saka junior high ang may reclassification guidelines. Ang senior high na huhuli sila kasi wala pang guidelines. So they are banking only on natural vacancy. So parang walang equal opportunity yan. So pero mariresolve na yan pag lumabas na yung merit selection plan ng ating Department of Education. Kaya yung mga item reclassification guidelines could be a source of research. Then the mentoring, the training and development, patronage and corruptions, results-based performance management system or the RPMS, scholarship and grants, then succession planning. So succession planning, marami din tayong pwedeng dyan. Are we implementing the succession planning? Kasi depende rin yan sa pag-appoint ng ating appointing authority. But at least sana may succession planning in any organization. What kind of capacity building activities are necessary and most effective in addressing development needs and improving the work performance of teachers and other DepEd personnel? Maaring it could be overall training program, specialized training program, process of capacity building, the teaching strategy, the selection process, the practical application, monitoring and evaluation, other development options, in classroom training, coaching, mentoring, and experience. So, maaaring lahat ng itong mga capacity building activities are necessary and most effective in addressing the development needs and improving the work performance of teachers and other DepEd personnel. So, pag walang ginagawa ng ganyan ng isang organization or may mga ginagawa pero hindi naman effective, so it could be a source of research. So, napakarami talagang source of research ng ating department. And then, key topics under employee welfare, but are not limited to the following. What mechanisms are the most appropriate to promote the welfare of all DepEd employees? Like the professionalization, the salary, the benefits, the incentives like awards and recognitions, the cash and non-cash rewards. Mayroon bang talagang institutionalized na incentives ang isang organization or as the need arises lang? Mayroon bang policy manual on the praise on that organization? The non-cash compensation, the service credits, or the compensatory time off, yung CTO na tinatawag nila. And then the protection and safeguards, the grievance mechanisms, the teaching load, and ancillary services. Siyempre, nakakaapekto din yan, no? Pag napakarami ng teaching load and ancillary services, ang isang employee makakaapekto sa kanyang performance yan. So, it could be a source of employee welfare na research. And then, employee wellness, baka yung iba, wala na, nangangailangan ng physical, emotional, spiritual, or the worst is mental support. Kung mental support, delikado na talaga yan, no? And then, maaring the hazard pay, the risk insurance, the monetization program. So, sa non-teaching, mayroong monetization program kung charge to savings nga lang. And then, gender and development. So, how do you implement this one? Could be a possible source of research. What motives teaching and non-teaching personnel to sustain and passion to high-quality teaching and learning and work performance, like the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Kailangan ng intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. From the inside and from the outside motivation. Maaring isa yan sa mga role ng ating mga bosses sa external motivation, and the internal could be from the employee itself. The theme number 4 is from the governance. Key topics under planning include but are not limited to the following. How can DepEd determine effective and efficient standards for critical education resources for schools, community learning centers, and other delivery units, like the processes and tools, the typologies and classifications, planning considerations for non-formal education, comprehensive school safety or disaster risk reduction, and management in education, critical resources, the teachers, the teaching-related, and non-teaching personnel. So yung teaching-related, yung mga nasa division personnel like the education program supervisor, the PSDS, the EPS, and many more. And of course, yung mga non-teaching, and then the education facilities could be a source like the availability of laboratories and etc. The tools and equipment, of course, of any organization or in the school or in community learning center, yung sa house, or any delivery units, may water ba, sanitation and hygiene, wash sa isang school. Kung wala, ay delikado tayo dyan, lalong-lalong na sa pandemic. So it could be a source of a research. And then school sites. Ano yung status ng ating school sites? Ano na ba siya? Wala bang conflict dyan? Baka may mga informal settlers na nandyan. Maaring isa yan sa problem and challenges na maaari mo kailangan i-address. Or may title na ba ang ating mga school sites? No? We're working hard and very hard to address that kind of problem. The health and nutrition, of course. And then the operating budget in your school and in your organization. So it could be, how can DepEd improve its planning process across levels, like in strategic planning or and contingency planning? Strategic planning, itong long range ito na strategic. Ito, maaring ito ay from the SIP, the DEDP, and others. The operations planning, the data management, monitoring and evaluation, policy research and development. So lahat-lahat ng ito ay under planning process across levels, from the school up to the division level or the central level, central office level. And the key topics under finance include but are not limited to the following. Key topics under finance: the policies and practices, the issues and challenges, the time frame. Ito talaga, yung time frame, yung iba, hindi makaliquidate kaagad. Maraming mga unliquidated cash advances. Maaring ito, may nakita akong research na ganito noon. in my previous division sa Bislig City talking about the time frame na makaliquidate yung mga school heads. So, ginawa niya yan. And then, they extend technical assistance. Kasi pag more than 30 days na talaga, you will be given demand letter. Pero yung iba, principal kasi, hindi na nila, deadman na yung demand letter, parang wala na lang. So, parang okay na lang, no? Normal na sa kanila. So, napakaraming approaches. We would tend to understand bakit nangyayari ito. Baka naman may mga factors na beyond the control of our school heads na hindi sila maka-follow sa time frame. And then, budget deliberation and complete staff work. Baka kulang ang ating mga staff. Budget execution, evaluation and policy amendment, computation of maintenance and other operating expenses, MOE, to provide implementing units with accurate funding needs. So, kailangan accurate yung mga funding needs ng ating mga implementing units and other units in the Department of Education. How does financial performance affect key stakeholders in DepEd? The fund managers, the target beneficiaries, the community, the DepEd internal stakeholders. The key topics under program management include but are not limited to the following. How effective is DepEd's overall program management system? Isa din ito sa pinaka-importante. The overall program management system of the Department of Education on program and project development, operational efficiency, coordination and provision of technical assistance, mentoring and feedback, capacity building, personnel selection, no? Kailangan na magaling tayo sa personnel selection. Support structures and processes, sustainability and mainstreaming, networking and linkages. So sa networking and linkages, nagagamit ba ng gusto? May impact ba ang overall program system ng Department of Education on networking and linkages? It could be a source of a research. So take note of that. Then how can we maximize external partnership locally and abroad to facilitate the delivery of basic education? Through bilateral and multilateral agreements, the public-private partnership, example is build, operate, transfer, build, lease, transfer, or build, transfer. Ito yung mga example ng public-private partnership. So, kasi may mga ibang private entities, no, na nagdo-donate sila ng mga resources sa ating department. Key topics under transparency and accountability include, dito naman tayo sa transparency and accountability, include but are not limited to the following. What factors affect transparency and accountability in DepEd operations? Like the accounting and auditing rules and regulations, the procurement law, the transparency reporting, the implementing units, the fiscal autonomy, the manpower and resources requirements. So baka may problema tayo sa manpower and resources requirements, the process audit, baka may mga problema tayo dyan, and then the engagement of stakeholders. How effective are internal businesses processes in allowing the public to monitor and document the performance of DepEd, or the Department of Education? Compliance to laws, policies, rules, and regulations. Government Accounting and Auditing Manual, RA 9184, or otherwise known as the Procurement Law. Ito, napakarami talaga tayo dapat i-improve on this. Added to this is the iba't ibang interpretation ng ating mga COA auditors. So it could be a source of research. And then DepEd order or memo, the recording and reporting of implementing units, the fiscal control, the audit, manpower, penal clause, accountability, and the engagement of stakeholders. Ito yung mga internal processes in the Department of Education. How can school or schools effectively respond to grievances from teachers, learners, parents, and the community. Policies and practices includes the school structures, the school governing council or the SGC, the child protection committee, the nature and types, the issues and challenges, and then the resolutions. Key topics under evaluation include, but are not limited to, how effective have DepEd policies, programs, and projects been in meeting their stated objectives? What are the unintended consequences? Like in private sector partnerships, the community engagement and participation, civil society organization, engagement or the CSO in governance, the human resource training and development, the early language literacy and numeracy, and then multi-grade schools, the regional science high school, special science elementary schools, the science, technology, engineering, and math program, the strengthened technical vocational education program, adapt a school program, library hub, MTB MLE, alternative delivery modes or the ADMs, is goal-based initiatives implemented in various versions in different divisions, and then the temporary learning spaces. Those are the different considerations that we can have as we have this different research agenda. And then how can DepEd maximize the benefits gained from evaluation, outputs, and expertise from within and outside the department, like the research utilization, the partnerships, and joint undertakings, issues and concerns, roles and responsibilities, capability buildings, and incentives. So itong lahat ng ito about the benefit gains from evaluation outputs and expertise from within and outside the Department of Education. How can DepEd improve its evaluation processes, evaluation standards, the professionalizing evaluation discipline, the external accreditation of schools, and other units? So, how can we improve in the evaluation processes? So, it could be a source of research. As mentioned, cross-cutting and emerging education social concerns will be considered in developing research questions under all four themes. Ito yung mga four themes na na-mention natin kanina, di ba? To inform policies and programs on these concerns, also listed below are research questions to each cross-cutting theme. So mayroon tayong kinatawag na cross-cutting themes aside from the four themes that we mentioned kanina. Ito ang disaster risk reduction and management. Napakaraming issues on this. So, napakaraming researches that can be opened or conceptualized from this. The gender and development, napakarami rin na pwede nating pagkunan ng research questions. And then, the inclusive education could be a source. Ngayon, tatalakayin ko ang basic research proposal na format. So, itong basic research proposal ay ganito po ang kanyang format. Introduction and rationale, syempre nakalagay dyan. Mayroon siyang, sa introduction and rationale, lalagay mo dyan ang purpose ng inyong research, no? And then yung ano yung situation na nakita mo na pwede mong i-address. Nakalagay yan dyan. Sa literature review, of course, para kang nagtitesis, kailangan mong makakita ng mga literature that will support the study that you intend to have. So, sa action research, wala na itong literature review. Nasa basic research lang ito. And then, of course, the research questions. Kailangan itong research questions mo ay nasa tama ang pagkagawa nito. Because this will determine your research methodologies. And of course, the different plans for dissemination and advocacy. And then the scope and limitation is also included here. And then the research methodology. Letter A, the sampling. Of course, mayroon tayong different types of sampling. So, maaring universal sampling, no? Napakaraming sampling na pwedeng pagpilian. The data collection, the ethical issues, and then the plan for data analysis. Ito yung sa research methodology. For more information on this, of course, yung iba sa inyo nakapag thesis na or dissertation, alam na alam ninyo itong research methodologies. And then the timetable or the Gantt chart. Alam natin yung Gantt chart, di ba? Ido-draw natin yung corresponding timeline kung kailan siya mangyayari. So dapat naka-Gantt chart ang iyong timetable. So, but if you have other ways of doing it aside from the Gantt chart, you are free to do it. And then the cost estimates, dapat nandyan yan. And then you study in a separate reading ano yung mga allowable at not allowable na mga expenses para sa researches. Kasi marami-rami din yon. Isang session din yon, no? Ano yung mga pwede o hindi pwede na bilhin sa researches. So, kailangan maintindihan lahat yan. For more information about this, you may contact your accountants. Alam na alam nila ito. Ano yung mga pwede or hindi pwede regarding this one. And then the plans for dissemination and advocacy. Of course, how will you disseminate your researches? And the plans for sustainability and advocacy on this. Kailangan may maka-adapt ng iyong researches. Or may sequel ka pa after this, the offshoot after this research, basic research, kasi may mga problems pa na kailangan isolve, or may mga divisions or schools na mag-adapt sa iyong researches, it could be nice. And then of course, wag kalimutan ang ating mga references. So sa action research template, ito yung template ng ating action research. The context and rationale, of course, pare-pareho lang din sila. Ang wala dito ay yung literature. Kasi sa basic research, mayroon yung literature. Then the action research questions, nandito rin. And then the proposed innovation, intervention, and strategy, you have to describe it here. Ano yung proposed innovation, intervention, and strategies? And then the action research methods. Paano mo gagawin ang iyong research? So, halimbawa, the participants and other sources of data and information. And then the data gathering methods ang nagagawin mo. And then the data analysis plan. So, how will you analyze the different data that is based on your research? So, kung makikita natin, parang hindi masyadong complicated ang format ng action research kaysa basic research. So, kailangan we should take note of this. Lahat halos ng mga teachers, nandito lahat sa action research. So, konti lang siguro ang nag-basic research. And then, the action research work plan and timelines. And then, of course, yung action research work and timelines. Importante din ng mga simplified na yung term. Hindi na pang-thesis yung mga terms dito. As you take note of this template. So, kasi hindi katulad noon na napakataas pag magawa ka ng researches in our Department of Education. So, ngayon, napaka-simplified, no? Yung mga terms din niya ay common sa atin. So, halimbawa, itong cost estimates. So, ilagay mo lang dyan yung cost estimates mo. Pero, kailangan din isalang-alang what are those allowable and non-allowable expenses. So, nasabi ko kanina, ibang topic yon kasi medyo marami-rami rin yung mga ganyan. So, you can contact your accountant for more details on this topic. So, kailangan ninyong i-contact sila and I hope that you have gained something from these different templates. And of course, plan for dissemination and utilization. And huwag kalimutan ilagay ang ating mga references. Kasi importanteng ma-recognize natin ang ating mga references in our researches. para hindi tayo ma-charge ng plagiarism, no? So, lagay natin may format diyan pag ano ng mga references, di ba? So, isa diyan yung APA. So, depende na sa mapagkasunduan ng inyong region kung ano yung format ng references. So, ito po yung mga basic at action research format. Parang pahapyaw lang po ito, na isali ko lang, naisingit ko lang dito so that you will have the bird's eye view of this. So, maraming salamat sa inyong pakikinig. Thank you very much for watching and for supporting my leadership channel. Watch out for new episodes on National Qualifying Examination for School Heads from the Hector Macalalag Leadership Channel. Sana po palagi niyong tangkilikin ang aking channel at sana po yung mga ads na makikita ninyo, wag niyong i-skip agad kasi doon po kumikita ang channel natin. So, lahat po ng ito ay free for all of you. And I hope that you have learned as much as I have learned also from this encounter. Thank you very much. And may God bless you as you prepare and brace yourselves for the incoming Principal's Test 2021. It is my prayer that you will pass. And as you prepare, you read, and read. Every domains of the PPSH and every strands. Doon kayo mag-base ng readings ninyo. Huwag kayong nag-read ng basta na lang mag-read. Doon kayo mag-focus sa strands and domains ng PPSH ng mga topics doon. Kasi doon talaga ang focus. Thank you very much and may God bless you all.